And All for United is live, just like that.
Yes.
Hello, welcome to Matchday Mornings. I'm Ben. I've got Stel with me. I've got Usman with me. I've got Joe with me. And we are live on our YouTube channel and we are live on our Twitter account as well. If you're watching, by the way, on Twitter, come and check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/all4united. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit like on the video as well, because we're going to be bringing you some amazing fan content. You're never going to just catch one person chatting shit to a camera. You're going to catch a whole load of Man United fans from around the world expressing their views, their opinions, giving you the reliable news, the latest rumours, X, Y, and Z. We're just going to do it all here, and we're going to do it as a bunch of mates, and we're going to have fun with it. So make sure you check us out on YouTube at youtube.com/all4united. Thank you if you are watching on Twitter. Get your tweets in at all4united as well throughout the show. Match day mornings. Well, we all know how we feel on a match day. We wake up, we feel knackered. Then we go, oh, it's match day. And we get a little bit excited. And then we start seeing some leaked team news and we're like, oh, it's squeaky bum time. And then as it gets closer to the game, we feel a bit more nervous and a bit more nervous until the lads are out wearing the red shirt. And then we get utterly excited. So we're trying to catch you between the tiredness and the excitement of it being a match day morning. So thank you for joining us today. And we're going to get straight into the game. It's Chelsea today, lads. Obviously, the fun part of all this is that we've seen City and Arsenal play. Usman, was that a shocker yesterday? Was you expecting Arsenal to do one over on City?
Absolutely not. I don't even think Arsenal fans were expecting that, to be quite frankly honest with you. First and foremost, I got to give a massive credit to Arteta, the way he set the team up. He obviously must have watched Ole Gunnar Solskjaer beat them 3 times. So no, I'm going to copy that. But yeah, fair play to Arsenal. They executed their plan to perfection, and it does change the dynamic of this game, I've got to be honest, because for me personally, going into the final thinking it's Man City, we've got less of a chance winning that game, with all due respect to Arsenal. You know, I'm going, if we were to beat Chelsea, it just gives us more of an opportunity to actually lift the trophy now. So it'll be interesting to see how Ole Gunnar Solskjaer perceives that final now.
Yeah, I mean, Joe, would you go along with that? Would you say that the winners of United v Chelsea are now going to be the favourites for the FA Cup?
Yeah, I think so. I think if you look at the betting, I think I heard something where before the semi-finals, obviously Arsenal were the outsiders. But the interesting dynamic for me is obviously we've beat Man City twice this season, and I don't think we've managed to beat Arsenal this season. I think we drew at Old Trafford and we lost at the Emirates. So I don't think if we win today, we can just assume that we're going to win the FA Cup. But I think the chances of us beating Arsenal in the final compared to beating City 3 times this season, I would more favour playing Arsenal. So yeah, I have to agree with Usman, but it'll be by no means a foregone conclusion for me.
Yeah, I mean, Joe, whatever happens, FA Cup semi-final day, I mean, this is what we live for as football fans, don't we? We're going to Wembley, we're going to be at Wembley, there's not going to be any fans there. However, just to watch the lads walk out at Wembley playing such a big game, it's going to be some occasion, isn't it? Oh, Stel.
Sorry.
Oh, no, sorry. Did I say Joe? I meant Stel. Sorry, mate. It's the morning. You can forgive me for this.
It's all right. No, it's going to be a tricky game at the end of the day. We know what Chelsea are about. They've got a new manager in Lampard. I think he's done reasonably well, in fact, very well since taking the job, given the financial restrictions, given the circumstances that Hazard leaving. Okay, we've got the luck of how can we put it, the Indian sign over them. Is that the right term to use? I mean, we've beaten them 3 times already this season. But it's the FA Cup, man. You just never know what could happen. You know, we've been shocked in the past by smaller teams. So yeah, it'll be a good game. Good game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really, really looking forward to it. And going into the game, Stel, you mentioned there about it being a tricky one, and you mentioned a bit there about Frank Lampard. What have you made of Frank Lampard's Chelsea?
I've been impressed with them this season, to be fair. They have a similar problem to us, whereby they're not as defensively sound as they'd like to be. Going forward, they're lethal. The only thing I will say about them is that they're heavily reliant on Olivier Giroud at the moment. He's their informed player. I know Willian has had a great month, but Giroud's finishing recently. I mean, he's always been a great finisher, I believe, anyway, in terms of first touch finishing as well. So I think he'll be their danger man. Pulisic has come on leaps and bounds. I think Kovacic is a fantastic central midfielder. It will be a very tactically enthralling game, I think, because I think people are expecting us to hit the ground running, come out of the blocks quickest, given the pace that we have up top. But you know what? When it comes to playing Chelsea, I always get this like sick pit, sick feeling in the pit of my stomach. I think it's just nerves more than anything. They're the London team I despise the most. So.
Yeah, it's going to be a tricky game. Hello to the United Way who are with us as well. Thank you for joining, lads. Hello to Adash as well, who's putting up some really good articles at the moment on allforunited.com. Go and check out the website too. And we've had a few as well through Periscope, including a Leeds United fan who's been on this morning. And we cannot wait to batter you next season. Let me tell you that. We have got a Chelsea fan joining us a little bit later on. He's a Chelsea YouTuber. He's going to be on the show. Lewis is going to be chatting a bit more about Chelsea. But Usman, United's mindset going into this game. A lot of people questioning me. A lot of people questioning me when I put out the other day on Twitter about, is it time for Ollie to rest players? Are we going to take the FA Cup seriously? And the question's there because that's what everyone's talking about. Is it now time to potentially rest a few lads, or do we have to go full swing at it?
I think for me going into this game, it's almost like I'm caught between two minds. Do I follow my heart or do I follow my head? My heart is saying let's go for the euphoria of being in the final, potentially lifting the trophy. Obviously, we saw the jubilation from the Arsenal fans and the Arsenal players after the game, after they won that game. So it still does mean something to the players, and of course, it still does mean something to the manager. But for the other side, my head is saying that we need to rest players. The most important game is the West Ham game. Looking at the bigger picture, what's going to be a betterment to the club? For me personally, it would be getting into the Champions League. And therefore, that would mean the West Ham game has more importance. I'm not saying rotate the squad to the extent that we're going to get battered. Obviously, we need to compete. And obviously, Man United need to be competing on all fronts at all times. But I think we need to bear that in mind. If we are to get an injury to any of our front six, it could be a detriment to our opportunity to get into Champions League. So I do agree we need to rotate the squad. Depending on how much is a different story, because we've seen the fall in terms of ability when we made substitutions. So it's a tricky one. Personally, for me, I would play McTominay and Fred, but I'll let you guys decide if you feel that Pogba or Matic shouldn't start, really.
Yeah, it's an interesting debate, isn't it, still? I mean, do we... I mean, it's an FA Cup semi-final. I can't believe I'm even saying this. But we have looked at Eggy, and we haven't looked as good when these players who have looked at Eggy have come off the pitch. So looking at the likes of Bruno, I think Matic will start because he more or less, Matic was on the bench in the last game. I think that was in line to start him today. But the likes of Pogba, how much longer can Martial and Rashford continue at full throttle like they are as well? Potentially Greenwood needs a rest, so that's maybe a straight switch for Lingard. He hinted at the other day, and then also you've got the likes of Romero who's biting at the bit for a start. So do you expect to see some fresh faces?
I do, yes. As you mentioned, Romero, I think he's the cup goalkeeper, isn't he? I'll be very surprised if Solskjaer doesn't select him today. I think defensively we need to switch around a bit, maybe get Eric Bailly in, either for Maguire or Lindelof, because as you said, we are looking leggy. I mean, the first 20-25 minutes of the Crystal Palace game, we weren't great at all. And I was quite worried because Palace possess a lot of pace going forward. And obviously when you've got box-to-box players like Wan-Bissaka, coming from the right-hand side and obviously being tracked by Wolf Zaha and then have Zaha running at him, it's going to take out on these players. But you mentioned Matic. I think Fred is going to play today. He had a good game at Stamford Bridge in the league a few months ago, and he's got a good engine as well. So I think he'll be starting up top. I can see Igalo starting ahead of Martial. Now, I know people are going to say to me, well, Martial's in form and you can't be dropping players, but he's not being dropped. He's being rested. And, we've got West Ham coming soon. They're another physical team with a lot of pace at the back. So we need to be very, very mindful. And I've got to credit Mick Clegg for what he's done coming in, strength and conditioning. A lot of players are looking fitter, they're looking stronger. And we're not, burning out with 20 minutes to go or 10 minutes to go. You can tell that they can play a full 90. Yes, they do look leggy. But I'm not as worried as what I was under, say, Jose or under Van Gaal when players were dead on their knees. So, yeah, I think they've done very well in the background, as I said, with the strength and conditioning, with the physical element of the game. So, yeah, happy with this.
Yeah, no, I've got to completely agree with you there, Stell, 100%. Hello to Katie Wood 2524, who says, I think we'll win the FA Cup, get top four, and at least get to the Europa final. Wow. Well, that would be good.
Ben, can I interrupt 2 seconds, mate?
Go on, mate.
I think we're lucky that the Europa League is in August, because if the Europa League was during this actual part of the season, our players, they'd be dead. They'd be dead. There's no two ways about it. So I think Ollie's thinking, well, we want to go for top four. We want to go for FA Cup. Fortunately, because Europa League is in August, we can go for them for the top four and the FA Cup, and then worry about Europa League, and we'll know what position we're in at the end of the season. So whether we need to qualify to the Champions League via the Europa League, or just get into Europe via the FA Cup.
Yeah, no, I think you're completely spot on. And I don't know about you boys, but I am buzzing for this Europa League tournament. I love the idea of it. It's going to take up most of August. It's just a great idea. So I'm in for that. Hello to Brian, says GGMU is also saying positive. That's what this show's all about. We want to be positive. We want to be excited. Yes. It's match day at the end of the day. And we're buzzing for the game today, although we've got a little while to wait. 6 o'clock, blimmin' neck. Anyway, I just want to quickly move on to something that you lads haven't hit on, and that's Ollie in big games. Obviously, we spoke about potential changes and players to come in, but he tends to go 5 at the back, doesn't he, in these big matches? So I think you're right, Stel, when you mentioned there, and Usman, I'll come to you first about this and reflect on what Stel said. Eric Bailey, he was brilliant. Was it in the League Cup? Or was it in the... I think it was before we went into lockdown, didn't we? He was brilliant in a back three against Chelsea. When we beat them at Stamford Bridge. He was absolutely fantastic. And then you've got the likes of, obviously, Williams was back in training yesterday, but we're not sure that he has recovered completely. So Fosu Mensah, is he a left wing back? I'm not completely sure. So what do you think if he goes with that back five? Who do you reckon he'll go with?
For me personally, obviously, he's going to have to play Wan-Bissaka if he's going for back five. I wouldn't actually mind seeing Delo in there. I know a lot of people probably don't rate him in terms of his defensive work, but I think Wan-Bissaka, again, is another player. He's played practically every single minute this season. So it's important that we look after these players as well. He's still quite young. He does look like, well, the last couple of games, it looks like it's been a detriment to his performances as well. He's been poor, to be quite honest with you. So for me, I would potentially put Delo in there because his ability to go forward. If you're going to play 3 at the back, we've only got 3 centre-backs available, haven't we? So it's going to have to be Lindelof, Bailly, and Maguire. I would have loved to see Luke Shaw in that left centre-back position. I've seen early in the season, he's been absolutely fantastic. And like you said, Williams, we don't know if he's fit, but if he is, he's perfect for that left wing back position. He offers us a lot going forward. His ability to break the lines as well, and obviously carry the ball forward is important, especially if we're going to sit back and counter-attack them. So that's the back five I would go for if he is going for that formation.
Yeah, and even if he does go for a back five still, that attack is still mouth-watering, isn't it? I mean, I expect to see James start today, actually, and I think it'd probably be James, Martial and Rashford if he goes for a 3. It'd probably just be Rashford and Martial if he goes for a 2 with Bruno behind. But that attack on any day of the week can slice open any defence, can't it? And we saw that actually for the second goal, for Martial's goal midweek. Just superb.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it's not just the pace that we possess. It's it's almost like the York and Cole telepathic relationship, isn't it, between Rashford and Martial? They interlink very well. They move around the pitch very well. They occupy pockets of spaces where defenders like to be drawn out. And don't forget, Mason Greenwood. Now, Greenwood picked up that injury. Well, I would say injury. It was fouled against Southampton. I think that kind of knocked him for the rest of the game, really. He hasn't really taken a kick since playing for us. So when Romeo went in for him, I thought, here we go. He's a test of character for him. But, he came back against Crystal Palace, played reasonably well. But again, he's still young. He's still 17, 18 years old. And we can't burn him out. So I think Daniel James needs to play. And Daniel James has received a lot of criticism lately. And I don't think it's very fair on the lad coming from, Swansea City, who are a mid-table championship side, joining Man United. Okay, he's a Welsh international, but it's a big step up. And people forget that his father passed away in the summer. So, obviously from a psychological perspective, the lad has got a lot going on in his life. But let's get it right. As fantastic as Mason Greenwood is, don't get me wrong, he's come from United way. So he knows what to expect from the club. He knows the standards. Daniel James is coming from Swansea City and he had a loan spell at Shrewsbury, right? So in terms of a training and growth and development perspective, he hasn't at elite level. So we can't expect him to come in the team and say, well, okay, you've had 4 or 5 decent games when you first started United, and now your career's dropped. That's not how it works. The lad is out of form. He's a little bit out of favour at the moment. But I think Ollie is very wise in the sense that he will rotate, as you guys said. I think he'll play today. I wouldn't be surprised if he plays with the Igalo up front. So Yeah, it's going to be, as I said before, it's going to be an interesting tactical battle because I don't think Chelsea are going to rest any players in this game. I think they're going to go for it. So, they've got a lot of players that are in form at the moment. It'll be a very tricky one. I'm using that cliche again.
Yeah. No, I'm completely with you. Kiz FC, Kieran's on. He's going to be on in a second. He's a Chelsea fan. We're going to go over and chat to him. Before we do, just a couple of comments. Nithin says, good morning, lads. Afternoon here in India. Hope we get the job done tonight. Nithin, we're with you. Hello to MUFC Melbourne, who says, red on me. Zayad says, 5 at the back is a crime. We must hit them with a high pressing and attack. Joe, let me come back over to you, buddy. Do you agree with that? Do you think 5 at the back is a crime? Do you think we have to go all out and play the formation that we have been impressing with the most recently?
No, I think first and foremost, we have to win the game. And actually, it's interesting. I think when we've played against the so-called bigger sides this year, especially the top 6, I think it's a formation that Solskjaer's tended to go to. And we've been playing Luke Shaw there at left side centre-back. Obviously, I don't think he's fit for today, so that's not an option. But if he's got a defender that he trusts, I don't think there's anything wrong with the 5 at the back. And obviously, it's just about whether we've got the players that can fit that formation for me. But seeing us use it already this season, it's worked quite well. My only fear would be, obviously, we haven't used it since lockdown. So will they need time to adjust? But that obviously, we won't know that until we see the game. But for me, I wouldn't have any problem if he went 5 at the back at all now.
No, we've performed with that formation and we've performed pretty well with it as well. So, and at the Bridge, a couple of times already this season, we've performed well as well with that formation. Joe, Usman, stay there because I'm going to bring in Kiz FC now. Kieran, who's a Chelsea fan. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, guys. How are you?
Yeah, all good, all good. So we're sort of stepping across enemy lines on the show now because we want to chat about the whole purpose of the show is it's match day, whether you're a United fan or you're the rival team's fan, the opposition, you as a Chelsea fan. This is the time we're excited the most in the mornings about the game coming up. And of course, can we get any more excited? I mean, it's FA Cup final day. FA Cup semi-final day. How are you feeling?
Oh, I hope we get an FA Cup final day coming. I really do. But honestly, I'm looking forward to it, but I'd be lying if I said I was too excited because I'm actually really nervous. I don't often get nervous on a match day, but you guys have got the better of us 3 times already this season. And you were just talking there about playing 5 at the back, and I've got visions of Sheffield United coming back. And when teams sit in and they sit deep, we really struggle and we struggle to break them down and we lose a bit of belief. So I'm hoping you attack, we attack, and it's just the best attacking team on the day gets the win.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because cup games, that's what they should be. End-to-end football, if you score 5, we'll score 6. That sort of mentality. It's a cup game. You've got to go all out. It's over one leg, 90 minutes, go for it. But I think it's interesting because my worry about it, and I suppose you can reflect on this as a Chelsea fan, Ollie has got the better of Chelsea 3 times this season, which is an amazing achievement when you think about it. I mean, I know Lampard's freshly in. He's relatively inexperienced as a manager. He hasn't really switched it up in any of those 3 games. He's gone with what he's believed in. So I am sort of wondering whether Ollie goes, right, let's do something to surprise Chelsea here. Frank goes, oh, let's do something to surprise United here. And there's just a clash, and it ends up one of those horrible games where you would literally take a ball off the arse in the 90th minute for a win. What's your thoughts on it? How have you felt this season? Because obviously you haven't had a great record against United. And going into the game today, do you think Frank does need to switch it up a little bit?
For me, no. I think we've been doing okay. I think the main difference between Frank and Ollie is that Ollie knows his best 11 now, I think. And if you ask Lampard or you ask all the Chelsea fan base what the best 11 is, I think you'd get a lot of different teams. Centre-back pairing is an issue going forward. But yeah, going back to your point, I think it's going to be a tight game. But I do see there being goals. 2 teams, too much attacking, pace and threat and goal scorers on the pitch for there not to be goals. So while I hope it's not one of them boring, both teams shut up shop and, they're afraid to explore and make a mistake, I can see this being like a 2-2 or a really high-scoring draw. And I think it's going to go all the way. And I think it might even take penalties if it has to separate these 2 boys.
Oh, mate, don't. You're going to get my match day mood, which is really good right now, into a really anxious one if we start talking penalties at 9:21 in the morning. Oh, no, I don't think I can do that.
We've both got a lot of young players as well, so it'd be interesting to see, one, if it is tight in the 70th, 75th minute, who has the more bottle. And I think who deals with that pressure better is probably the ones that will take the game and go on to progress to the final. And you were talking earlier, and I think now there's both a bit of extra little something extra in this game, having seen Arsenal won. And I don't mean that as any disrespect to Arsenal, but I think both of us, realistically, if we were to progress from this and go to the final, you'd have to fancy City. But now there's that little carrot of, okay, we've got Arsenal to play. It's a winnable game. Can we get through today? And if we can, I think we'll go all the way. I think whoever wins today's semi will win the competition.
We hit on that earlier, actually. By the way, if you've just joined us, hit the subscribe button. If you're watching on Twitter, go to our YouTube, youtube.com/allforunited, and hit subscribe. We're going to do this every morning on a match day. I mean, it's quite interesting, to be honest, Kieran, because we were saying that earlier on. Is the winner of this game automatically the favourites to go on and win it? I mean, it's a really weird place, isn't it? Because we're not going to have fans there. You know, it's not going to be that extra bit of bite from the travelling support, so to speak, because let's face it, for both of us, it's an away fixture. It's at Wembley. So, you know, it's one of those, at the end of the day, it comes down to how you literally do perform on the pitch. You can't afford to have a bad day in a game like this. And City yesterday, didn't they? They just had a bad game.
Yeah, bad day at the office in the cup, you're out, you know, it's done. You can't recover. In Premier League season, you have a bad game, you've got 37 others to play. But going back to your point about switching it up, I've just been thinking it would take a very brave move from either Frank or Ollie to go, okay, we're putting our eggs in the top 4. Imagine doing that, switching the side up, changing your tactics, losing today, and then coming 5th in the Premier League. What do you do then? You've got nowhere to go, nowhere to turn. Obviously, this is our only shot of silverware. Technically, you know, we're 3-0 down to Bayern. I can't see us overturning that one, if I'm being honest. But you guys have got a shot at the Europa League. So at least in terms of silverware, you have got something to fall back on. We haven't. It's pretty much all or nothing for us today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. So looking at that Chelsea team, actually funny, Stelz just sent me a message. Who's on with us today? Just said, can you ask his how he feels about Kepa, please? Because he has had some stick, hasn't he? And he's been up and down all season. So in with that, do you want to tell us what your Chelsea team would be for today? I know it's slightly off the cuff, but you're waking up this morning, you're excited. You know, you're seeing rumours about who's going to play, who's not going to play. So what are you thinking in your head? Who would you like to see line up against United at Wembley today?
So I have to go with Kepa. For me, he's a massive confidence goalkeeper. His mistakes have mainly been when he's being overly casual with his footwork. I don't think in terms of shot stopping, you watch him have an absolute howler today and let one go like Taibbi used to for you lot. But yeah, I'd have Kepa in goal. I would go with Aspi at left back. Don't think he's comfortable there. It's not his natural side. And when he puts a cross in, it generally goes behind the goal. But I'd have Aspi on the left and Reece James on the right. And the reason I'd leave Alonso out is because I'm looking at your attacking pace in Rashford, Martial and Greenwood. If Alonso's playing, they run rings around him, you know, all day. And they have an absolutely field day and just get the ball into the box. I'd have Zuma and Rudiger just for their pace, physicality and athleticism in there. I think we've got Christensen, but he sometimes looks a bit like Bambi on ice at the back there. I know a lot of Chelsea fans would probably start Christensen today, but looking back at some of the goals we've conceded since football returned, and you know he's been flat-footed. His awareness and his positioning is just not quite where I want it to be at this point. So I'm hoping Frank sees the same, and we go with Rudiger and Zuma. I think N'Golo Kante not being available will be a big loss. Obviously, Sarri thought he was some kind of attacking number 10, but Frank has come in and seen sense and put him back in that defensive midfield role, which is obviously where he's best, and he's been effective there for us. But with him out, I would have Kovacic in that deep lying playmaker role. I'd have Mason Mount and Ross Barkley with him. Mason Mount just brings energy. Frank knows him very well. You know what you're going to get with Mason. I'd have Ross Barkley just because what I like about Ross Barkley, it hasn't worked out for him really at Chelsea. But yet, every time he goes on the pitch, he gives you 110%. And I think since football's returned, he's made it very difficult for Frank to leave his name off the team sheet. Mm-hmm. That's
the issue you want, isn't it? As a fan, as a manager, you want to be able to go, do you know what? We can't leave him out.
It's exactly that. And I think even if players have a bad game, you know, fans are very forgiving if you see a player giving it 110% week in, week out. Even if their stuff doesn't come off, tries a lot of flicks. Mm-hmm. Every time he gets the ball within 20 yards, his first thought is to have a crack, which, you know, sooner or later, one of them's going to fly in. Hopefully it'll be today. But and then the front three for me picks itself. We've obviously got Pulisic on the left, who's been our real shining star since football's returned. And I'm just hoping, you know, next season when we've got all these other attacking, you know, Ziyech and Werner, that Pulisic doesn't, you know, fall away or feel like he's now inferior to those boys, because his resurgence has been amazing. Willian on the right, again, amazing since the restart. And the same with Olivier Giroud. So, you know, players that haven't really stepped it up over the course of the whole season are now finding form. Is it too little too late? But just for one last game, please just carry the form into this one at Wembley. And
so no Tammy Abraham in the starting lineup for you. I'm going to go back through your tweets and see if there's any of those Abraham's better than Rashford tweets on your timeline, and then come back to this interview and send it over to you.
You absolutely won't find any. I can assure you. I'm not a fan of. I'm not going to say I'm not a fan of Tammy, because what he's done this season is our top scorer in the league. He surpassed my expectations anyway. You know, when I heard that he was given the number 9 shirt and we'd got him back from Villa, I was a bit like, oh my God, you know, Championship's one level, Premier League's the next. But he's done all right, Tammy. You know, we called upon him. He answered. He scored goals. Without his goals, we wouldn't be where we are. We wouldn't be in this, you know, this situation we're in right now, which at the start of the season, I'd have bitten your hand off for it. But yeah, if you asked me to swap Tammy for Martial, Rashford or Greenwood, I would literally just click my fingers.
I would say that I think he is a Championship striker, but I am too scared that he's going to pop up with a 90th minute winner today. So I'm not going to say it. I cannot put myself through that.
You've worried me now. I'm sitting there just waiting for every time Kepa's got the ball in his hands, I'm going to be like just behind a cushion.
Mate, you've got to be honest. I'll be surprised if Bruno and Pogba play if they don't put some shots in from distance, because I'd be testing him from early on. I'll be going for it. I also think I see what you're saying about Zuma and Rudiger. I think they're definitely a better centre back pairing. But I mean, we were saying this earlier on, a final point as well, kids, like as a Chelsea fan, you do not want to see Rashford, Martial and Bruno linking up in front of your backline, do you? Because they will literally put any defender in world football on their arse, right?
Exactly. And this is why I think the Kante loss is going to be so huge for us, because his energy and his pace and his awareness and just sitting on the edge of the box, he's happy to do that deep line role. I don't think any other midfielder in our team is happy to solely do that. They've all got a bit of something about them. I think Kovacic has got the most, I think they call it take-ons or dribbles. He's had the most successful dribbles. He's carried the ball the most distance in the Premier League this season, which is mental, really, because he's not always in the team. So, yeah. But yeah, without Kante stopping, you know, Fernandes linking up with Rashford, Martial, I'm scared. I'm genuinely nervous for this one, honestly.
Well, thank you for coming on, Kieran. Really, really appreciate getting that view from over enemy lines. I would say good luck, but to be honest, I hope you lose. But other than that, mate, no, really, really appreciate you coming on. Spoke really well there, mate. Really appreciate it. And obviously next time we have Chelsea, next season, whenever that is, obviously we'll chat to you again then.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. May the best team win. I just hope it's a cracker of a game for all of us.
Yeah, me too. Thank you, mate. Thank you for coming on. Really, really appreciate it. Kieran Kiz FC. If you want to go and check out some of his work, he also does a lot of FIFA and just loads of different content on his channel. Please go and check him out. Right, I think it's only right, lads, that seeing as we've just spoken about the Chelsea team, Stel, Usman, Joe, back with me. Look, we go over the United team. Now, I think instead of getting individual 11s, what I think would be pretty cool if we go one by one. Let's say, what do we reckon? Do you reckon Ollie will go with 5 at the back, or do we want to go with a 4-2-3-1? What are we saying?
I think 4-2-3-1. I don't see why you change it now, given how good we've been post-lockdown with that formation.
Stel, Joe, what do you think? 4-2-3-1? Should we predict a team on that formation, or should we go 5 at the back?
I think if I was wanting to see the team line up a certain way, I would go 4-2-3-1. Obviously, my comments earlier about a 3 at the back was based on the fact that we've done that already this season against the bigger sides. But if I want to see this team line up and go for it today, I'd like to see him go 4-2-3-1 like Usman. I
want to say hello to Frank Khalid UK, who's on with us as well. One of the biggest trolls on Twitter, isn't he?
Yeah, Frank is a good friend. He's a good lad. He really is good. Like, got a lot of time for Frank. He's one of the nice ones. Trust me.
Yeah, 100%. I was only joking. I love some of his views. Hello to Kai, who's on as well. Morning, lads. Sounding good. Hello to Abu, says 3-1 United. ESP619 says 2-1 to the Blues. ESP619, get out of here. Off you go. Hello to Katie Wood, who says, please PM your link to your channel. I searched on YouTube but can't find this live stream. Just literally go to your browser, youtube.com/all4united, and you'll be able to find it, or check out our tweets at all4united. And hello to Ronnie, who says, great work, you guys. We will win today. Go Man U. I mean, put Man United at least, but yeah, fine, fair enough. Thank you. And hello to United Way. He says, does Matic come back in, considering Pogba had to babysit McTominay against Palace? Pogba's game was hindered. Well, we'll find out, lads. Let's do our team. Actually, seeing as I think let's do 11 each, but let's run through it as quickly as we can because we're running out of time. Stel, starting lineup for today, please, mate.
Romero in goal, back 4 of crying out loud. I'm going to go Dallo at right back, centre backs, Maguire and Bailly, left back. Do we even have a left back, gents? Do we even have one?
There's a question.
Honestly, do we even have one? So Dallo will perhaps go left back, and then Wan-Bissaka has to play right back, because who do we have there? I mean, we got Fosu Mensah. He could play, but is he going to risk Fosu Mensah against Pulisic? I don't know. So yeah, I'm going to go Wan-Bissaka right back, Dalot left back, 2 holding midfielders. I think he's going to go McTominay and Fred. I think Fernandes will play, and up top, I think he's going to go James, Igalo, and Rashford.
Nice. So quite a few changes in there. 4, 5, 6 changes, more or less, really,
Yeah.
depending on what he decides
Well,
to go with.
It's a depleted squad. Well, it's not depleted, but we don't have the personnel. I mean, as Usman alluded to earlier, we've only got 3 central defenders. Well, we forgot 4 if you count Phil Jones, but who wants Phil Jones? I don't think Phil Jones wants Phil Jones.
Everyone wants Phil Jones. That's why we're going to get 25 million for him in the transfer window, because everyone wants Phil Jones. Come on. Usman, come on, mate. Give us your 11 off the back of Stell there. Are you going identical to that, or would you make a few different tweaks?
I'm definitely going to make some tweaks like Stell did. I think I do agree we do need to keep the back 4 this very similar, because I think that's where you can't really get away with changing too much. But because of injuries, we need to obviously bear that in mind. I'm going to actually rest Wan-Bissaka, like I mentioned earlier. I feel that his last couple of games have indicated to me that he's fatigued. And that's not a critique on him, but I just think he's played so many games. So I'm going to take him out. I'm going to put Fosu Mensah on the at right back. I thought defensively he was fairly sound. Of course, he didn't offer as much going forward, but that was mainly because he was playing on the left. So I'm going to go Fosu Mensah. I think Maguire will definitely play. So I'm going to go Maguire, Bailly, Williams. Sorry, I haven't even done the goalkeeper. I'm going to keep De Gea in there, actually, because it's a semi-final. And I know, obviously, Romero is a cup goalkeeper, but I think De Gea, I think it's important that we instill confidence in him. He showed in his last game he's still quality. So I think we need to keep faith in him. My main changes are going to be in midfield. I've gone for McTominay, Fred. And this is the one that's probably going to get a lot of people talking, but I'm actually going to put Mata in number 10. And I know Ali's going to play Bruno. I know this is not going to happen, but this is just what I would do. I'd go Mata number 10. I'd go McTominay and Fred. I think Bruno needs a rest. Again, another player, he's been running to the ground. We know how much effort he puts in each game. So it's important that we protect him. Front 3, I've changed this about 100 times, but I'm going to go for Mr. Wembley on the right wing, which is, of course, Jesse Lingard. I thought when he came on, he offered something. Of course, he's not of the quality of a Greenwood or potentially a James, but I think he'll be able to do a job. So I'm going to go Lingard. I'm going to go James on the left. Again, his ability to break on them quickly. And up top, I'm going to go Martial. Again, I've changed that about 100 times, but I think we can't change it too much up front.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting. I'll make a comment on that in a second. First of all, Kieran Woods got on. Glad I found this channel. Much better than United Stand. Keep it going, guys. Hey, every single United fan channel out there is doing their thing. So shout out to everyone. But thank you, Kieran. Appreciate the nice words. Hello to Expensi. Well, something like that anyway. Can we trust the bench, though? Interesting point. We'll come on to that in a minute. Abu says goals from Rashford, Martial and Greenwood. So clearly they're going to start for him. And he said 3-1 United. We'll come to our predictions in a second. Just want to hit on there, Usman. You was mentioning about Mr. Wembley, Jesse Lingard, and about his performance and comparing him to Greenwood. Sorry, there's no comparison there with Lingard and Greenwood, right? At all. Yeah. There really isn't, especially going forward. The one thing that I did point out is that every time Palace came at us down that left-hand side, Greenwood was about 2 yards off the ball every single time and about 2 yards off his player. 9 times out of 10, he would get back with his pace and stand in front of the ball, but you could clearly see that he has no defensive awareness about him, and that's fine. He's a young lad who needs to learn that side of his game, and he will learn that side of the game, and it's not a really harsh critique, because as long as he's banging in the goals, it honestly doesn't really matter that much, because Wan-Bissaka is brilliant, and Lindelof is all right at covering. Now, I think Bailey would be better at covering than Lindelof, but that's just my personal opinion, because I think Bailey's got more pace. Bailey's a little bit more in your face, and he's good on the ground at tackling, whereas Lindelof stands up a man. Now, the reason why I like Jesse Lingard today, and I thought Jesse Lingard came on and made a bigger difference than everyone is even saying, is because they literally didn't go down the left-hand side as soon as Jesse Lingard came on, because he was always in, until he was injured, Van Aanholt's face. He was back supporting Wan-Bissaka as well at every single time that Palace went forward. And I think Jesse Lingard, from that point of view, and his positional play and the way he helped the team out against Palace, I think he was brilliant when he came on. Now, don't get me wrong, he didn't really offer anything going forward at all. But in a game like this against Chelsea, when you want to still be in the game, or potentially even comfortable in the game, 1 or 2-0 up, 60, 70 minutes to go, Jesse Lingard from the start is not a bad option at all, because they've got Pulisic, potentially Aspilicueta, as Kieran said there. You need to have 2 strong players down that right-hand side who don't only do the defensive job, but also the attacking job as well. So that's why Wan-Bissaka, Lingard, I'm not against that whatsoever for this game. Joe, just want to quickly come over to you. Your 11, please.
Yeah, so I'm like Usman. I'd stick with De Gea in goal. I think I was quite disappointed with Romero in the previous round. I feel like the Norwich goal, he could have done better with that. And like Usman said, De Gea is just starting to regain a bit of confidence, so we'll keep him in there now. I would actually stick with Wan-Bissaka. I agree with the guys. I think he was looking a little bit tired, but actually the game against Palace, I think he was a little bit better than the 2 games previous to that, which were against Southampton and Villa, I think. So I would stick with Wan-Bissaka. I'd go probably Maguire and Bailly at the back again, a little bit like you say, that little bit extra pace. Plus Lindelof, I think he's carrying a bit of a back injury anyway, so this may be the opportunity to give him a break. Left back, I'd probably, if Brandon Williams is fit, I think he plays. But again, if there's question marks over his fitness, then it may be someone like Timothy or obviously Diogo Dalot will have to do a job there for us. In midfield, I would make a couple of changes, although I think I would play Matic because obviously Matic didn't start against Palace. I know he came on last half an hour, but I think obviously he's probably got, he could give us an hour, and hopefully alongside him I would go Fred, just because he's a little bit more dynamic and the energy around the middle of the park there. I could see what the guys are saying about playing Mata as in number 10, but I think he'll go Bruno. I think Bruno and Martial are the starters here. Even when they rotate, they still tend to sort of stick with those guys. Although I think it was telling, I think Fernandes looked absolutely exhausted after the Palace game. So it's interesting to see what United will do with that. Dan James scored against Chelsea earlier in the season. Can be effective on the counter-attack for us, so he'll play on the wing. I stick with Martial up front, like I just said. And on the other side, I would probably give Lingard a game, and I think things are pointing towards Lingard playing. Solskjaer's been saying a lot about him in his press conferences in the week. So I could see Lingard definitely starting, and obviously, as Stel said, he's got Usman said he's got fond memories of playing at Wembley. So hopefully that might bring out the best in him again.
Yeah. I'm going to move on to my 11 in a second. Hello to Kieran, who says, we will stick with Aaron Wan-Bissaka because we have no one to cover him. 4-2-3-1 today. Matic must play if we want to have a chance in the game. The United way, thank you for sticking with us. Dan James would be deadly with his pace if he plays with his head. Also, his place could be at risk with the emergence of Greenwood. Good problem to have looking forward. And Adash says Bailey tends to get lost in games sometimes. And he also mentioned here that I guess Brandon would play. I think Ollie was positive about him. Well, look, my 11, I think I'm a mixture of both. And I'm also a mixture of sort of wanting to go for it a little bit as well. So I would go with Romero in goal. I think actually the goalkeeping position is the one position that I'm not worried about making a change in. Romero's the best number 2 in the world. Easy. So I would go Romero in goal. I would play Wan-Bissaka. I will play Eric Bailly today. I just think it's an opportunity to give Lindelof a rest. And as I said, I think Bailly was brilliant in the last game we played against Chelsea. He really was. Maguire, obviously, straight in, probably one of the first names on my team sheet. And then, well, it'd be Fosu-Mensah, I think, or Williams. If Williams is fit, Williams plays. Simple as that. And then I think Matic will start because he didn't start against Palace. And then I just don't think he drops Pogba or Fernandes. I just don't think he does. I think if he wanted to drop one of them, he would have done it before now. Although I do think it's interesting that he let them play the full 90 minutes against Palace. And maybe you're right, but I just can't bring myself to say that I would leave Pogba and Bruno Fernandes out of United team, even if I'm being sensible. So I would play them both. I'd play Lingard on the right. I would play Martial and Rashford at the moment. I just would. There's too many unknowns with the league at the end of the day. I think Leicester will go to Spurs and lose. I think United will beat West Ham. And whatever happens now, we're going to be within 3 points of Leicester come our game to them at the end of the season. So I really don't think it matters if we then decide to rest again a few more players against West Ham. So I think he'll go more or less full strength, just with a couple of tweaks here and there for fresh legs. So I would only bring in Romero, Lingard, Bailey, and potentially Williams back in the side. Obviously, of course, he wasn't injured. It's not a leg injury. It's not a muscle injury. It was head. He's got a cut. He's got a bad eye. So we just have to wait to see how he is. Just want to do a few more comments, lads. Solskjaer _ MUFC says hello. Hello, mate. Morning. Come on, United.
Morning.
It's match day. Taylor and Curry says if Brandon was fit for me, he would be left back. And Michael says if he does start, Bruno and Pogba, they can't complete the full 90. It is too important to make the top four. Well, fair enough. But we get 5 changes, right? So if the game's done at 60 minutes, let's take them off. Yeah, we don't play as well, but let's put 5 at the back and let just Chelsea run at us. And what happens at the end of the day. Because if we get to a point where we're 2-3-0 up in games, we should see it out. And if we don't, then it's going to be down to individual error. And Stel, I like it when you go on a rant, mate. So I'm going to put this tweet up and I'm going to let you react to this and give you the floor, mate. Zayn Alam says that Ollie needs to be sacked. Go on, Stel, have him.
Why? what reason?
This is the live world, though, isn't it, mate? You get the comments.
It doesn't. For me, it doesn't make sense. Why would you want him sacked? He's brought in 3 players in the summer, which have done pretty well. We're in a good position to get top 4. Let's be real. We weren't going to challenge for the title at the beginning of the season, so we're in touching distance of top 4. We're still in the shout for the domestic cup competition. We got to the semi-finals of the League Cup, don't forget, and we're still in the Europa League. So why should Ollie be sacked? What's he done? There are managers out there that have been managing teams like Bournemouth and all these other clubs, and they've done absolutely nothing, spent more money, yet they're still in jobs. So why should Ollie be sacked? Why? Because you want Pochettino?
The United way says back to bed, Zane. Adash says Greenwood would be starting. He was taken off after 63 minutes. Yeah, but Adash, I actually think Greenwood was taken off because he was playing really poorly. I think it was a tactical switch, Ben. Because if you watch the game, I think you mentioned Greenwood being 2 yards away from Wolf Zaha whenever Palace got forward. Don't forget, Palace, they rely a lot on that left hand side with Van Aanholt bombing forward. So I think it was intentional for him not to track back as much. If you notice against Southampton, he was doing a lot of tracking back because it was Bertrand going forward and Redmond, who's the wide man, was tucking in, was going more central. So I think Greenwood had to do more work then. But against the likes of Crystal Palace, when you've got so many people down that side going forward, his pace can kill anyone. So I think today is vital. If we see Alonso and Reece James at fullback, then we'll know what Chelsea's system will be, because they will get those 2 fullbacks bombing forward. And whoever's playing on the flanks, whether it be Pulisic, Willian, Hudson-Odoi, they're going to tuck in and they're going to be supporting the central man, be it Abraham or Giroud. So we'll know Chelsea's game plan based on who they play at fullback. So I'm not too fussed, because as you guys alluded to with Dan James or Lingard or whatever, we've got the ability to get at them in wide areas. And if we've got someone in the middle of the park that can ping balls in between the central defender and the fullback, they'll just get in behind them every single time. It won't be an issue. But again, we need to get the balls right, and we need to get the system right. Yeah, and also don't be surprised to see a slow first 20 minutes, because United keep doing this. And this is, if you watch United back under Sir Alex in the majority of games, we were never always fast out the door. We would sit back and let teams give us whatever they had for the first 20 minutes, and then we would adapt. And we've done that against Palace. We've done that at Southampton. The only thing that we need to learn is when we do that is not to make a mistake and not to concede. But other than that, we've been playing really well, professionally, really good. I just want to get through some comments, lads, because we're nearly done 45 minutes, and then we'll come to predictions. D Kelly 369 says, "Hey guys, morning." Morning. Hello to Michael. Says, Stel, it's coach. Maybe he wants Hal. No chance.
Oh, get out of here. Get out. I don't want to hear this.
Hello to Kieran. Says, wow, what an idiot. 19 games unbeaten. Wow, we need to make that 20 today. 13 clean sheets. Michael says 50 goals scored. You must be mad. I think Lingard could start tonight. Yeah, I think me, Usman and Joe also think, and Stel linked onto that there. And Hello to United Way says Greenwood was getting rough tackles, which was taking his toll. He's becoming man marked due to his current form, learning curve for him, and this will show his character. Yeah, again, I'm not being harsh on him. I'm just saying that I think and I actually agree with Stel, I think we should be telling Greenwood to not go over the half, not come back underneath the halfway line. Don't come into our own half. Stay on that halfway line and act as that second striker. Let Rashford do some running. Then let our left back cut in as maybe the third centre back whenever an attack's happening to tighten things up. And then Wan-Bissaka goes out and deals with the dirty work. And then you've got workaholics like Bruno Fernandes, who literally just runs after every frigging ball, who can cover players like Greenwood for not tracking back. So yeah, I completely agree with you. Hello to Doc United, who is the biggest Lingard fan. Barry, he's going to be on this channel a lot, by the way. Absolutely love Barry. As man, you'll remember a preview that we done with Barry recently when he was talking about Lingard. I sincerely hope we see no sign of Lingard whatsoever. Barry, I love you. Morning, mate. Keep doing your amazing work on the front line as well that you're doing out in South Africa. And is Williams available tonight? We're not sure, potentially. But lads, we're nearly done. Make sure you subscribe to the All for United YouTube channel.
Drop a
Check
like
out
as well.
allforunited.com. Yeah, Usman's right. Drop a like on this video. Share it across Twitter. Share it wherever you need to share it. Before we go, though, this is a bit where the lads basically become viral sensations when they make the score predictions. Stel, what are you going for today?
2-1 United.
2-1 United. Who's getting on the score sheet for you?
I think Igalo will get one, and Rashford.
Mate, could you imagine the scenes if it's an Igalo 90-minute winner?
Oh,
Well, like
Martial
Martial against Everton.
Yes. Oh, don't. Right, Usman, what about you?
no, I've actually agreed with Kiz, who you had on it from the Chelsea fan. I think it's going to be a draw as well and go to penalties, sadly.
Don't say that.
Yeah, I just think I think both teams are going to play attacking football, but I just think we're going to cancel each other out at the same time. In terms of Lampard's going to be too scared to overextend because he's seen how devastating we are on the counter attack. So I think he's going to be a bit more cautious. We'll probably score first again, but I think they'll be able to peg us back. So for me personally, we're going to win it on penalties. David De Gea is going to save penalties. You heard it here first.
David De Gea is going to save penalties. I love that. I'm just going to go and change my underwear after this before I get on with my day, because even the word penalty makes me want to shit myself, like literally. Joe, let's come over to you, mate. What about your predictions?
Yeah, both teams are going to score. I don't think either defence is probably confident in keeping each other out. So I do see both teams scoring. I see it being 3-1. I think United will be 2-1.
Wow.
And then I can see Igalo late on the counter attack. United create an opportunity for Igalo, finishing the game off.
Come on, Joe.
Please, game over.
Love
Bruno
that.
Fernandes slides the ball through. It's Igalo. One touch. He's beaten Kepa. It's in the back of the net. United are going to the final. Come on, boys.
That's how I see it going.
That's how we want to see it
Love
go.
that.
Joe,
Love that.
love that. Right. Guys, thank you for getting involved. Usman, thank you, buddy. You're going to be on tomorrow with the breakdown of the game, tactical breakdown with Kojo and another Red as well. Stel, we're going to see you about. Joe, you're going to have some transfer news during the week as well. We'll be back before the West Ham game. I think it's actually on a work day, isn't it? So we might even have to do that a little bit earlier. So Lizaz might not be up with me, but we'll have some other top Reds as well who will be. Make sure you hit subscribe, give this video a like, keep commenting throughout the day, continue the conversation on @All4United as we take you through match day, 6 o'clock tonight, Wembley, FA Cup semi-final against Chelsea. Doesn't get much bigger than this because we've got Arsenal in the final if we go through, and that's a small game, minnow club. So we will see how it goes tonight. Stel, thank you. Usman, thank you. Joe, thank you. We're All for United. We're out of here. Take it easy, Reds. And come on, United.
Come on, United.